Hello, my name is Mr. Anderson and welcome to my PC build. Before we get into the actual building, let's go over everything that I bought for it. First up, with the processor, we have an AMD Ryzen 7 9800X3D. It's got 8 cores and 16 threads. We have the AORUS X870E Elite motherboard, and he's a big boy. Next we have the RAM. We have the G.SKILL Trident Z5 RAM. We have 4 of these and they're 16 gigs each, so we have 64 gigs of RAM, which is pretty awesome. Next we have the graphics card. This one I'm excited for. I've never had one of these before, but it is an AMD Radeon RX 9070 XT. It's a big boy. For our SSD, they're both Samsung Evo 990s. One is a 2 terabyte SSD and the other one is a 1 terabyte SSD. So we got 3 terabytes total of storage. For our power supply, we have a Cooler Master V Platinum 1600 volt power supply, which I realize is overkill, but I tend to be someone that overcompensates never mind. Then finally, we have for our CPU cooler, we have a Cooler MasterLiquid 360L cooler. It's got 3 fans. And then for the case, we have a Fractal North XL black case that I'm pretty sure is too big. Again, may have overcompensated a little bit. And then also with the purchase, I got a new monitor, which is an ABS GQ271NE. It is a QHD gaming monitor, 27 inches, and it has 1440p capability, which I believe is 2K. I could be wrong. Yeah, so that's all the pieces, and now we're gonna put them all together. By the way, this is the first time I've ever put together a PC, so I'm gonna be relying pretty heavily on instructions. All right, so we got the motherboard out. First step, according to the motherboard instructions, is to install the CPU. So first thing we gotta do is crack this bad boy open. Pull this little pin to the side like that, and you pull it up. This, oh, not like that. And then this thing folds up. There we go. There's that, and that's where the processor is going to go. Now we're going to bust out the processor. So again, this is the first time I've ever done something like this, so I'm a little freaked out. Okay, there's the processor. And in case you're wondering, yes, this motherboard is compatible with an AMD chipset. Align pin 1 indicators. Okay, so now I gotta find the pin 1 indicator. Oh, I see it. Okay, I'll open this real quick and I'll show you. Okay, so the pin 1 indicator is this thing right here, and it's going to align with this corner right here. All right, here we go. Pop this out. Let's do that. Now that there. Oops. There we go. All right. I think I gotta take this thing off. Right? Yeah. Because the CPU cooler is gonna go right over that. Yep. Okay. Okay, we got that off. Oh, there's some notches that I need to make sure are aligned before. Let's see, yep, a little notch right here, right here. And then I bring this back down. Yep, and then this comes down like that and locks into place. Woohoo! That should be the CPU installed into the motherboard. All right, next step is installing the RAM. Let's go ahead and open up our RAM here. Okay. So again, we have 2 in a package. We have 4 total. Okay, so there's that. Okay, so here, let me show you the instructions on how I'm gonna interpret them. terrible camera work. I'm interpreting this as the ones that are grayed out, I'm not using only if I'm only having 2, which I only have 2 right now. So I need to put them in the 1st and the 3rd. Is that right? Or, you know what, let me just look at my current computer and see what's going on there. Bear with me. Oh gosh. They're in the 2nd and the 4th. But again, I don't know if it'll really matter because they have, I'll install them in order. I'll do 2nd and 4th, which is what this is. And then we'll do the 1st and the 3rd. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll pop these like that. Okay, and we'll take the first set of RAM and we will, I think it goes like this. Yeah, okay, I'm wrong. I said it flipped, but this is where it gets tricky. So this is what I'm working with here. So it's in the right spot. And now I'm trying to decide if I need to push it in all the way and then secure these, or if these will just push it in by itself. Okay, that one's in. That one's in. Perfect. Okay.
I'd like to say that was the last time me and my fat head blocked the shot, but you will see that that is not the case. Sorry.
Money. No, it does not.
Oh my gosh, seriously, dude?
Got our 2nd box of RAM here, and we'll just repeat the process.
Okay, I've had enough of this. I'm just skipping.
I don't know what it is about having 4 RAM lined up like that. It just looks so cool. And it's RGB too. Okay, that is the RAM taken care of. And now we have to put the motherboard in to the case. Okay, we got the case here. I will peel back this plastic later. We're gonna open it up and get it ready for the motherboard. So I have the motherboard here, and it is gonna go in right here with the CPU being up in this area. So we're gonna take this. Got the mounting screws here, right there, and we're gonna mount this bad boy. Whew. Motherboard is installed. Okay, I am on the graphics card step and I'm looking at all of the things and got a little confused. On the motherboard instructions, it says install an expansion card, but it's like nowhere does it mention a graphics card. Like I said, I'm new to this. So I had to Google what an expansion card was. Long story short, a graphics card is considered an expansion card. Had no idea. So now we're at the point to install the graphics card. First things first is, you can't see them, but there's a mesh guard right here. I gotta take that off. So I'm gonna do that first. All right, now we're gonna open up the graphics card. Again, we have the AMD Radeon RX 9070 XT. So let me go ahead and bust this bad boy open. And then, here we go, moment of truth. Holy cow, that thing is huge. Oh my gosh. This thing is massive. Oh, and that's where it's supposed to go. It's supposed to just sit. Oh my gosh. That is crazy. Yeah, so it's gonna go in like this. Yeah, that will go like that. Could I put it down? I could not. It has to go right there. Okay, so now we're in a pickle here because I've not gotten my SSDs yet. I can put the graphics card in for the sake of the video, but I will have to remove it later in order to put the SSDs in. Just for the sake of the video, I think I'm gonna put in the graphics card. Oh my gosh, dude. All right, now I'm gonna go right here. Right, where it goes. Am I dumb? Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. Okay, it's in. Yep, it's in. Okay, now just gotta get that clip. Okay. Oh, it popped in. Oh, nice. That's cool. All right, we have a Cooler Master Liquid 360L core. Well, let's open up this bad boy. This up. Oh, it's so big. Jeez Louise. This is gonna be a process. Oh gosh. Get out all the stuff first. Okay, so we've got the radiator here, and then we've got the 3 fans. 1, 2, and 3. Now, according to this, the radiator goes on the top. I'm confused here. This is saying that the radiator goes on the outside and then the fans are underneath it, which seems backwards to me. I'm gonna have to look some stuff up. Give me a second. All right, so after much consideration, the radiator goes right on the top and then the fans go on underneath. The other thing too is, where do I want them to go? And they should be blowing into the radiator, right? I don't know. None of these have words. Okay, hold on.
So after recording and editing all the confusion I had with the CPU cooler, once I finally figured out how to put it all together, I didn't even push record on my phone. But needless to say, I finally figured it out, as you'll see in the next part. Oh, something you'll also notice in this next part is that my microphone turned off again. Honestly, why am I still editing this video? Should I even post this atrociously filmed nonsense? I'm talking during this whole clip, by the way, and this isn't even the only clip with no sound. I'm going to have to put these clips in again and figure out what to say while they're playing. I mean, I eventually put the computer together successfully. I could just cut to the finished computer and be like, okay, thanks for watching. Nothing ever went wrong while doing this. Bye. Anyway, enjoy the rest of my mistakes.
I'm back with my SSDs. For you, this will be like literally the next frame, but it's been a couple days since I began filming this stuff, and I finally got my SSDs. So we're gonna stick these in, then we're gonna stick the graphics card in, and then we're gonna start putting power to everything and wiring it all up. So let's do it. All right, so these SSDs are gonna go, one's probably gonna go here, and then the other one's gonna go in here. Okay, I do actually want to comment something useful, and something I found really cool about this motherboard. I don't know if it's common for other motherboards to do this, because again, this is the first PC build I've ever done, but you'll notice in this clip that there are some fasteners built onto the motherboard that secure the SSD into the motherboard. In all the other videos and instructions that I've seen, people have been screwing their SSDs into the motherboard with a little fastener screw, but this one provides the fastening for you, which I thought was awesome. Okay, so before I go on to the next part, this case is making a very strong case for itself. The motherboard did an okay job of like showing me like where things go, but this thing that came with the case has been a lifesaver. These Fractal North cases are pretty sweet, particularly right now for this instruction guide, which is saving my life. Now that we got that out of the way, the next thing we're gonna do is install the power supply and then start hooking stuff up. Okay, so now we'll do this. Wow, this packaging is immaculate. I'm assuming this is the PCU. It comes in its own little protective case, which is insane. But yeah, here's the PSU. We'll get that installed here in a second. I'm curious what's in this other box. Is it all the cables? Oh my gosh. More zip ties and some straps. Nice, thank you, Cooler Master. Those over here. Okay, so there's the power cable that plugs into the wall. So we'll put this over here for now. And we have so many wires in here. I have no idea what to do with, but I'm sure there will be some helpful instructions, right? Man, I was really hoping this would be an instructional video where I got to explain things as I do them in real time and not while editing the video. Anyway, the 24-pin connection you can see me plugging in right now gives power to the motherboard. On the wire itself, you'll have the 24 pins that are all connected that go onto the motherboard. And then on the other side, you'll still have 24 pins, but they'll be connected at different points on the power supply itself. Next, you have the 8-pin connectors, which I'm showing to the camera right now. These 8-pin connectors are going right here on the motherboard, and you can see that my motherboard has 2 spots for 2 8-pin connectors. Technically, you don't need both 8-pin connections for the CPU. According to the video I watched, you really only need extra power if you plan to overclock your CPU. However, because I enjoy overcompensation, I've plugged both 8-pin connections into the motherboard for the CPU. Then finally, you have 2 more 8-pin connectors for the graphics card. For this specific graphics card, you'll have to plug in both 8-pin connections, because if you don't, the graphics card won't get enough power and therefore won't work. So the big 24 pin, the one that's all together, went into the motherboard. And then these two that are coming from it are like, I think it's still 24 pins technically, but they're technically separated. So there's this top one and then this bottom one, and they go in right there. The next thing we're going to do is the CPU and the PSU. I think that's it. Yeah, so those are going to go right here. If I did everything correctly, then when I put this back in and plug it into the wall, in theory, the computer should turn on. So that is what we're going to test first, and then make sure like fans are spinning, and really that's it, just making sure all the fans are spinning. I got them plugged in the right spot. All right, this is the moment of truth. Now some of you might be like, oh, but you didn't organize all the wires in the back, blah blah. I understand that. I will definitely do my best to manage the wires in the back because it literally looks like a nightmare right now. But again, like I said, I just want to make sure everything works, like that the computer turns on when I push the power button, that the fans are spinning, if there's lights to be had, that lights are happening. That's the idea. So I'm going to plug it in here, and then I'll plug it in over here. Okay, it is plugged in. I'm going to hit the on switch here. Boom. Now the moment of truth. When I push this power button, the computer will hopefully turn on. So here we go. Whoa. Hey. Okay. The lights, okay, so this is a good sign. That's a good sign. I think that's a good sign. But these fans are not spinning. The CPU cooler fans are not spinning, so I need to figure that out first. So I'm gonna turn this off. Oh my gosh, dude. Because, oh my gosh, I don't know if you saw it on your end, but, oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. This was not plugged in. That's why the fans didn't turn on. Oh my gosh. Let's see, I think there's some fan things up here. All right, let's try this. That says CPU fan. Let's do that one. Oh my gosh. Sorry, you can see my fat head. Okay, there we go. Got plugged in. All right, everything else turned on. So let's try it again. That's number 2. Here we go. Oh, it's all light. Here we go. 3, 2. Bingo. Nice. Okay. I think I installed these fans wrong. Oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. Those lights are really cool though. Let's fix that. Okay, now we can try it again because I plugged everything in. So here we go. Fan on. Okay. Fans go. Fans are going here. No air being blown. Air's being blown out the top. Right. RGB works. Those RGB fans should kick in soon. Right. Yeah, there they go. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. Okay, she turns on, which is awesome. Now that she's turned on, now we have to deal with this mess back here. And boy, is it a mess to be dealt with.
This next clip was 25 minutes of recording, so I'm going to do my best to narrate this properly and talk about my mindset while doing this without making you watch the entire 25 minutes.
First of all, ignore my hair, it looks so bad. Second of all, I'm fully aware that many of you will look at the finished wiring job and be completely horrified by how it looks. And I'm sorry, truly. I didn't look up a wiring guide or anything, I just went with what would have been the most functional without completely removing some aesthetic to the build. My first goal was to look at what positions made the most sense, and for me, that started on the far right side of the computer. I pulled the CPU power cables in with one of the CPU cooler fan's power and RGB cables, and zip tied those together. Holy hell, my fat head got in the way of the shot again and unfocused the camera. The other easy cable management part was the power cable for the motherboard. I simply pulled them into these Fractal straps and it fit like a glove. The last bit of wiring I did was this middle section, and this is where people will probably be horrified by my cable management. What I really wanted was for all of these wires to go into the Fractal straps I just talked about, but no matter how I arranged or pulled the cables, it just wasn't going to fit. Or if it did fit, one of the cables would end up getting unplugged due to too much tension. The other problem I foresaw was that the jumble of connections here would make it hard for me to put the back panel of the case back on. I quickly decided to test it out before I zip tied anything else, and...
It's not in all the way. Okay, good to know. Now we can do that. I'll be a son of a gun. That thing fits, even with all those things bunched up. So that's cool. Dude, I'm telling you, this case is freaking awesome. The motherboard is awesome. Everything about this build, except for me, has been awesome.
Now that the biggest problem was out of the way, I decided that all those wires needed to go straight down the middle. Luckily, there are places where I could zip tie all the cables at the top and at the bottom of the case. And then at the dead center of the case where the jumble was, I put a large zip tie to keep all the cables together, and finally strapped the RGB wiring hub with a cooler master strap down at the bottom of the case. And with that, the last step was to put the back panel on and start booting her up for the first time.
There it is. The PC built.
This next part isn't super interesting, but I wanted to put it in the video for informational purposes. Windows 11 requires you to connect to the internet when you install it on your computer for the first time and make an online profile for your computer. I prefer having a local account on my computer, but it seemed that Windows wasn't going to let that happen, so I learned from a Windows 11 review that there's a workaround to creating this online Microsoft profile, and it's actually super easy. When it asks for you to connect to a network, simply hold down Shift and press F10 on your keyboard. This will bring up the command line, a black little pop-up box. In that command line, you'll type OOBE/bypass NRO. This will cause your computer to restart, and you will now have an option to install without the internet. It will still ask you to connect, but now there will be an option to continue without an internet connection. Once Windows is installed, then you can connect to the internet and use your computer. The other thing I thought was hilarious with my setup was how persistent Windows is to have you use Microsoft Edge, which is their garbage internet browser. In this clip, you'll see me installing Chrome and getting rid of Edge, but every time I went to install Google Chrome, they were constantly harassing me to just use Microsoft Edge. Also, you can't uninstall Microsoft Edge from your computer. It's a permanent fixture on your computer. Alright, so we're basically at the end of this build, but I just wanted to show you. I told you I was going to do the white RGB lights, and this is what it looks like. And I am very stoked. Could not be happier with the way this PC looks, and I'm excited to see how it runs. Thank you for watching my video. I'm sorry if I did a bunch of things wrong. Oh, there's one thing I forgot to do. Well, like I said, thanks again for watching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Like and subscribe, do all the stuff. Peace.